Okay, so can we go? I think I have too much for you, so I hope it's not too boring because I speak. No, I won't be offended. Enough. So let me tell you a little more, and then we discuss. Okay. So remember when I showed you that what we are so good. I told you, even babies are very good at categorizing male, female, age, right? Race, black, white. Babies, they can tell in their brain. But when we say, I categorize you as Mexican, I'm a French American, or he's Jewish, she's Muslim, this categorization is not necessarily a bad thing. Nothing bad. You're a man, you're a female. There's nothing bad about it. Where things get a little more complex is what we call this. Sorry, I have to go back. Oh, I'm going back. Sorry, backwards. So we have these very quick ways to categorize people. Remember? Aviva, she's from Paris. She's a female. She goes to, I don't remember what. Yale? No. Princeton. And the other one is Tamara, or Amara. And she goes to Yale, right? So as soon as you know more information about the people, you start to categorize. And then you have, again, it's why I like about evolutionary theory, you have always benefits and costs, both. There is no way you can have only one. It always goes benefits and costs. Let me take example from this morning. If you are very tall and slim, like most male or female in Somalia, Ethiopia, this is an adaptation because of where they live, because of the weather, the sun. They live in the desert, very low altitude. It has selected people to be tall and slim. They run very fast, aren't they? If you want someone in your Olympic team, you better have someone from Somalia, not someone from Peru, especially from the high plateau of Peru. They live at 4,000 meters. They are adapted to live there. It's very hard. If you go there, you're going to be sick. They are not sick, but they are very short. Okay? So it's an adaptation. So if you're very tall and slim, you're going to be more likely to run fast, right? It's an adaptation. You have long legs, you run faster. But it comes with a cost. What is the cost of being tall and slim? There is a cost. It's biology. Your heart has to pump a lot to get the blood into your brain. It's much, much more higher. So that's not good. If you're short, there's less work for your heart to pump the blood against gravity. You see, nothing is free. Nothing is free, right? Hey, so nobody agrees. That's the same here. So doing this social categorization comes with benefits. It provides us with information about the characteristic of people very quickly who belong to certain social groups. You may be wrong, absolutely. But as a whole, I don't think it's a bad thing to think that, oh my God, Amara and Aviva are both going to very good colleges in the US. You know what? I think they must be smart. Do you agree? They must be smart. They must be very smart girls to be accepted at Princeton and Yale or Harvard. Where do you go? Harvard. You must be smart. So I can assume that they are very smart. Maybe that's not true, they're stupid. But come on. Statistically speaking, there are people who are cheating, but people going to Princeton or Yale, pretty smart. And then one is Jewish, one is Muslim. Maybe just knowing that, I can make some inference. You know, if she's really Jewish and really like practicing, which I don't know, by the way, maybe not a good thing that if you invite her for dinner to prepare pork and oysters, you never know, right? Because most Jews don't care, but some Jews, they go by kosher laws, same laws, but for Muslims, they don't eat pork. So I'm not going to invite someone who is Jewish and cook pork. That's kind of stupid. I may be wrong because I know a lot of Jews personally. I'm one of them. I eat pork. I love pork. I love oysters. I don't have kosher. Nothing. Because it's very stupid. But if I don't know, better be careful. It has negative outcomes. Because when we do this social categorization, it can distort our perception, right? That's the problem. Such as we tend to exaggerate the differences between people from different social groups, while at the same time perceiving members of groups of more similar to each other than they actually are, right? That's what I'm saying. So I'm just, again, taking Jewism because I know very well about that. So if you don't know what Jews are, you may have this view that, they're all the same. They don't eat pork. They all go to the temple. They do Shabbat. Sure. And probably there are a lot of Jews doing that. But you know what? You come to my community in Chicago, when most of my friends are Jewish, all of them are like me. They are not religious at all. They go, they do sometimes, like Hanukkah, a little candle for their kids, but they don't eat kosher. They don't wear a kippah. You don't even know they are Jewish. They don't even care about that. It's in their values, in their family. So we have to be careful because that can be a negative outcome. Say, oh my God, he said he's Jewish. He must be like this and like this. So we tend to exaggerate, right? So that comes from these biases. I think the biases is very useful. You categorize people what they are, male, female, nationality, language, SES. So that gives you a lot of information, but it comes with negative outcomes also. And you don't choose that what it is, right? So once we categorize people according to their social groups, women versus men, Asian versus black, poor people, wealthy people, we begin to respond to those people as more as member of a social group than as individual. And that's where we can make huge mistakes. And that's where, if you believe in the personal identity, this is Alexandra. She's unique. I don't care anything else. You have to respect Alexandra who she is, not the groups she belongs. Okay. So now let's go to what the sir with the blue T-shirt told us. Then we go there. So just as a matter of vocabulary, it's like, biases. I said biases are totally neutral. They can be they can make us make stupid decisions, but they have a reason, a function. But so we have now stereotypes and prejudices. So let me define what they are. Not me, it's what we learn from books. Stereotypes means beliefs that are associated with social categories. That's all it means. It doesn't mean something bad. It's beliefs associated with social categories. I think it's statistical learning. If you go to, I don't know what to take as an example, but if you go to, Peru, because, I don't know if you've been to Peru. It's such a beautiful country. You go to, let's say Chile. I went to Chile many times and Argentina, and it's what I'm going to say, it's very naive and maybe wrong, but for me, those are totally different countries. Oh yeah, both are in South America. One is totally corrupted. We know it. Argentina, it's a mess. Corruption, total. They all speak Spanish for sure. Chile, whatever you think, there is no corruption, much less. It's very well organized. Oh yeah, no. Go try to Chile to give money to a cop. Oh yeah, you will go to prison immediately, even if it's Jean de City. I go to jail the next day. In Argentina, you can always argue with the cops, give some money. That doesn't happen in Chile, I promise. Oh, there is mainly one case. And Chile is very well organized. You think whatever you want about Chile. It's very well organized as a society, very successful, by the way. Argentina is a mess. It's corruption. It's all corruption. We know it. Okay? So those are stereotypes. I may be wrong, but every time I went to Chile and Argentina, and whatever I read, maybe because of biases, I read the information that fits my knowledge. Oh yes, I think those are very different countries in terms of social network and political organization, right? Those are stereotypes. It's beliefs associated with social categories. In that case, my social categories, it's a very big one. It's a nation. Very stupid one, by the way. Prejudices are different from stereotypes. Prejudices are unjustified evaluation or attitudes, usually negative, towards an individual, a person, based solely on the individual membership to a social groups and preconception. So that has mostly a negative connotation, right? Not stereotypes. And the view, that's where I told you, and then maybe I will stop very soon because it's too much, but I told you, on the one hand, the what is it called, the social identity theory that came from social psychology, right? I think it's called the social identity theory. Yeah, social identity theory, which is very, very strong in social psychology. They claim that stereotypes lead to attitudes that lead to behavior, right? So we have stereotypes about people that will lead to attitudes and behavior towards these people. That's what we've learned, all of us, in social psychology. I just want to tell you that in evolutionary psychology, we disagree with that view. We don't think this is correct. And in evolutionary or functional term, this assumption, stereotypes lead to attitude and to behavior, is a tad mysterious. Little, right? Tad mysterious. Why is that? So that's why I want to finish talking about during the seminar, and then we can all discuss. Oh, what happened? I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. You know what? I don't know what I'm doing.
You're advancing, right?
Am I going backward now?
No, you're going forward.
Oh.
I've seen that information.
So I'm going backward.
So you have still a lot to go.
No, this is going forward.
Yeah, you're going forward.
I'm so sorry. How much time do we have?
It depends.
It's
on
too long. That's way too much. So I go back here.
Yeah, you were there in group favoritism.
Okay. So it's easier if I'm next to the. So we're going back to. Sorry, maybe there's something missing. I want to go back to group biases. I tried to tell you so far that we have these cognitive biases that are shortcuts in our brain that help us to make quick decisions. Biases, I don't know what you learn, but cognitive biases, it's all about how we use information, looking at you, talking to you, watching the TV, playing soccer, and use this information to make decisions. That's all. It's totally neutral. It's neither bad nor good. This is what we call cognitive biases. And I try to tell you they have evolved because they serve a function. They might be wrong. I'm not saying that always good, but they are shortcuts because you don't have the time to evaluate. You see someone on the street and that person doesn't speak Spanish. That's it. That's it. And you don't speak the language, what are you going to do? You're going to say, oh my God, let's see, show me your passport, what can I do for you? You don't have the time for that. So just by speaking to people, you will pick up on this information and say, oh, that's someone that speaks the same language. You make quick decision. I'm not saying that, again, it's neither good or bad. Okay. So the thing that most people don't like is this one. Or this one people don't agree. one of the consequences of group biases, which are heuristics, is what we call in-group favoritism, which is the tendency that we have, all of us, to favor in-group members, people who are from our in-group. And again, in-group can be very large. It doesn't mean Mexican. In-group can be defined as people from academia. That's my in-group. People from my community. Maybe it's people from my family. People from my soccer team. That's not about nationality. It's very flexible in the way we define groups, okay? If you go to war, yeah, it's going to be Mexico against the US. Those are nations fighting. But most of the time, these in-group are very flexible, okay? So this is something really interesting. As I said, we don't have to learn that. 17-month-old infant expect help to be provided when two adults that belong to the same group, but when two adults belong, sorry for the typo here, but they have no expectation when they belong to different groups. 17 months infant, they anticipate that two people from the same group should help each other. If they are from different groups, they do not have any expectation. Young babies, 17 months, they show lacking for peers of their own sex and race around age 3. At 3 years old, all infants across the world will likely favor the group from the same sex, gender. The girls want to be with the girls, the boys with the boys. Not everybody, but most of them, right? They also think that's very important for you. You are sociologists, that very early young children think it is a social norm to favor in-group. They think that's the norm. Interesting, isn't it? Children, all of them favor in-group when they have to allocate resources, especially when the resources are limited. If there is little resources, not enough for everybody, which happens a lot, unfortunately, then children will likely favor the in-group. If there is plenty of resources, then they're going to share the resources equally, right? So I like to say, because I live a lot, not live, but travel a lot in the Middle East, I don't think there will be any issues between the Palestinians and the Israelis if there were plenty of resources. Have you been to Israel or the Gaza band or that one? There's nothing. I mean, Israel is pretty nice now because they made a desert into a garden. But if you go there, there's not enough water. It's a tragedy. It's a very small space, very limited resources, and people fight. Makes sense. Everybody wants the resources. Now, imagine that Israel was in Norway, where there are trees and water for everybody. I don't think anybody cares about Gaza and the Palestinians and the Jews. Nobody cares. I think there is a lot of tension because of the limited resources. So you see, it's important when we discuss about biases, about in-group, whatever, always bring economics into the mix. It's not enough to have the lawyers and the sociologists and the psychologists and no one. You need to have economists. It's because when we talk about power, about work, it's about economy. So you need that. That's very important. I'm sure you have economists in your group. Okay? So, so that what we call in-group favoritism, that develops very, very early. And I want to be quick. I can't say anything. And it has the causes. We categorize, I don't want to go through everything, we categorize people into in-group and out-group because it helps us to simplify the structure of the social environment. That's a bias. Remember, it's a quick decision, right? Whoever you want to categorize, whether it's based on language, religion, nation, color, soccer, work, you do it very quickly because it's helpful. We need to categorize all the time. We make these categories. It's very helpful. All right, I'm going to go quickly. I don't think we need to go there. For a very long time, what neuroscience has told us is that when you see like black and white, like an example, you take white and black faces. So again, those are two women from a study. The first one, sorry, on the left, she's a black woman, very pretty, okay, beautiful face. And the other one is not, she's not black. I don't know, I think she's from somewhere Arabic country, right? She's a Caucasian, right? She's not black. Beautiful faces, very attractive, young, looking good, and so forth. But when you show that, a lot of studies in the US have shown that when we see black faces, we activate the amygdala. See, as if it was always interpreted that when you see someone from the art group, assuming you are not black, you see the black person as a threat, right? So that's why it's fueled the idea that, oh, you know, we make all these categories and we have prejudice going back to you against the black because we see black people as a threat because the amygdala shows up. But that's not true, in fact. There are new studies, not so new, 10 years ago. This is a very good guy at NYU, Jay Van Bavel. What he did, like in that study, what he did was he was randomly assigning participants in a scanner to a mixed race team, right? So he will take people, black and white in New York, black and white, and he will randomly assign them to team A or team B. So in every team, there are black people and white people together. And then you see the activity. Here it's lacking, how much you lack. You're more likely to lack the person from the in-group, even if it's a black guy, because he's part of your in-group, right? And not the same for the out-group. And the amygdala will be activated only for the out-group, not because you don't lack, but because it's the out-group. It's not based on race. What I'm trying to say, it is not based on the race of the person, it's based on the group, the social groups into which that person belongs. You get it? And if you put people in teams, maybe I should stop soon about this. If you bring people in teams, it doesn't matter anymore whether I'm black, you're white. What matters is that we are in the same team. That will stop all kind of biases. And then we're going to be biased against the other team. Oh, yes. But we can work together. So it's not about the race. It's about the team. It's about what we call coalitions. Okay? So that's why, you know, I don't agree with the social identity theory. I just want to remind that the social identity theory tells us that we are equipped, that's what they say, with a system in the brain that detects racial differences, right? She's black, right? Clearly, I mean, those are blacks. And this young girl, they are not black, right? They are probably more Caucasian. You agree? So it's as we have a system in our brain, when we look at these girls from the same group, by the way, we detect racial categories. I think that's wrong. Why? We're going back to evolutionary theory. That's what I like most. Because I just want to remind people that we did not start off as a multiracial species, right? It's only very recently, at the scale of evolutionary times, that humans have been in contact with different-looking others. It's very recent. No, look at you. I mean, we are all the same, right? I don't see any black faces here. But if I go to Chicago, I see black people, Asian people from all over the world. It's a very diverse city. But that's very recent, because for a long time, the people we live with in the savannah were all looking the same. They were all looking the same, right? So a race detection system is unlikely to have evolved in contrast to our spontaneous attention to sex, age, and gender. Gender, for me, the same, or age. Okay. From an evolutionary standpoint, that would be very odd that we have a system to detect race. So it's not about race. So just for you, because I love that part, makes me happy, just to remind people that all human beings today, you, me, the black, people from Jamaica, all, Brazil, the Portuguese, all human beings, we came from a common origin, from a small group of men and women, a few thousands, who left Africa 60,000 years ago. Right? That's a theory. based on what we know. Maybe wrong. Around 60 years ago, Homo sapiens was finally, 7 times they tried, successful to leave Africa and start to populate the world. But that's very 60,000 years ago. But if you look at this one, for a long time, before Homo sapiens, like almost 2 million years ago, and look at Homo ergaster, that's 2 million years ago. That's the origin of Homo sapiens, right? We all lived in Africa, all of us. I mean, our ancestors, right? I don't know what's going on here. So just going back there, for much of our evolutionary past, all of our ancestors, you as mine, all black. All of us. And then only after, that's very recent, because of local adaptation, then we change. People living in the north of Europe, like the Norwegian, they started to have a fair skin. That's a mutation. And if you live in Peru, again, you better have a dark skin. There is so much sun, beams. If you live in high altitude, if you are like a skin like the Norwegian, you're going to die from cancer very quickly. So your skin color, which is genetics, right? Genes that code melatonin, is an adaptation. That's very new. For a long time, we were all living in Africa. We were from the same race. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you're black or white. What you detect is coalitions. And I'm gonna jump many slides because it's too far. Because that's the positive aspect. So if you can teach our people, it's counterintuitive, right? People see, he's black, I'm white, Asian, the way we speak, language, accent, religion, they make all these divisions. Makes sense, I'll do the same. But if you can teach them, we can go beyond that. Because in fact, the mechanisms that we have from evolution are not about, who is like speaking Hebrew or Arabic. It's about coalitions. And we can create coalitions. And coalitions usually go beyond these categories. Let me give you some precise example, okay? So black and white, that's fine. You can group them together. Let's suppose like these two ladies here, they are fashion models. If I say that to you. So I don't show you the face, I'm going to show you the whole body. Those two, let's say she's African, let's say she's, I don't know, German, who cares? Dutch. Those two ladies, they are in fact fashion models. Then you make a category. Then you categorize them, beautiful girls, probably very tall and slim, sexy, woo, very different categories. You see? You made a new categories based on what they are doing, on their group, which is not about race at all. Okay. So I just want to go to, that's just to show that we are not the only species violent. Chimpanzees are natural born killer. So it's not just humans are violent, that's not true. There are studies on that showing that they are really, really bad among themselves. And we are the same, by the way. But, because I don't want to, it's too much. So a lot of what we do, we send signals, right? That we send signals all the time. The way, not all of us, but some of us, when we want to show that we are a different group, like they are, Muslim, this is like the Afro style, the Hasidic Jews, they dress this way. No, it's not because of their religion. That's what they think, for sure. They dress this way to send a signal outside to say, this is us, our group. And there is no way you can belong to the same group. It's a signal of membership, right? That's it. It makes it impossible for other coalition to recruit them. It's very difficult to try to belong to this group. You can be born into that. Very few people would like to be their members. It costs a lot of energy. Signaling, okay? So those are signals of ethnic and cultural affiliation that people send to say, I'm not like you, okay? That's it. So those groups, as I said, except for religion, can be extremely flexible. Like today, the hipster beard, I don't know if you have that in Mexico, it's very famous everywhere now in Europe, and it's same here. The hipster, they have a look, a beard, like, this cool guy. They want to show that they're special. The hijab, don't tell me this is religion. That's not true. Most women, Muslim women, do not wear this. This is very specific. It's a clear sign that they are special. And the same like Make America Great Again, like Donald Trump, it uses that as a signal, like belong to my group, right? You put the white cap. Those are signals that are sent to make coalitions. So I want to conclude before we talk, if you want, about how can we go beyond these groups. As I said, something positive. And I'm going to give you 3 ways that showing you that, of course, we can go beyond these groups. So before I'm going to give you some context, we have this groupish tendency. Humans are groupish. We like groups. Do you agree? Even babies. We like to have, male, female. We make distinctions. People like me, people going to the same temple, whatever, people taking the same food. There are many ways we can make groups. It's part of who we are. There is no way you can deny that. You cannot stop it. It's one way. And you should not stop it. That's useless. Okay? So that's what I say. The pool of us versus them thinking is very strong, even when it's arbitrary. Very arbitrary. Like hipster, it's crazy. Nothing. Hipster, come on. He's eating like vegetarian sumo, and I eat my steak. It's nonsense. It's nonsense, but they care a lot. They do care a lot. That's fine. You see? So the temptation is very strong to appeal to people's sense of reason. As I said this morning, but I want to use reason. Say, come on, we are whole humans. We can work together. We don't have to divide ourselves between Muslims and the Jews and the Christians and the atheists. We are all in the same boat. Life doesn't work, right? So maybe, and what I want to propose now when it comes to in-group and out-group to conclude, maybe to be more productive, it's to harness group dynamic, rather than fight or condemn them, right? We have this tendency to be in groups, and there is no way you can remove that, okay? So we have something that we've learned from evolution, that we have a capacity to cooperate that makes humans very special. We cooperate with very large groups, right? We cooperate with people in China, with people in Argentina, people in Canada. You never saw them. We can still cooperate. The humans are very good at that. We can cooperate and get in synchrony with other genetically unrelated. This is not your in-group. There are people who are not related to you. We have a capacity to organize ourselves around any reliable sign, the MAGA cap. Values are very important for humans, ideas and goals. So let me give you some concrete examples. This one, we know it. So one of my son, you saw my son this morning? After college, he went to the US Marine in the US. My son, my first son, he became a military intelligence officer, right? In the Marines. This is not the Marines, by the way. And you know that if you go to the Army, I was in the Navy too, the Army is very, very good at producing bands of brothers. Look, there's a black guy, probably a guy from Mexico. Who cares? It doesn't matter anymore. When I went to visit my son in the Marines, I went there a few times when he was in training, I saw his buddies, young men. Some were from South, believe it or not, some were from Somalia. They spoke Arabic. Say, who's speaking Arabic here? Oh, that's my buddies from Somalia. Somalia, in the US Marines. There are people from Mexico. Many of them are from Mexico. And my son, and black. Doesn't matter. Why? Because what does matter, it's something way beyond the values. It sounds stupid, I know. The flag, the American flag, sounds stupid to us because we are academics. Not stupid for young men. They love values, flag, membership. It's not a bad thing. You can group people together despite the fact that they're coming from different races, SCS level, religion. You can be Muslim, you can be Jewish, you can be nothing. They don't care. They will respect you because you're a US Marine, or the same in Mexico. In the US, I don't know if you have the same thing. We have sororities for girls and fraternities for boys in colleges. They love that. And in sororities, as you see from the picture, unrelated college freshmen are becoming sisters. They call themselves sisters. They love each other. They care for each other like in the family. And you can see she's from India, example. I don't know, she's say from Alabama, from Mexico, from who cares? Doesn't matter anymore. They chose to be together in one sorority, in one college. They become sisters. And when we say sisters or brothers, those are very strong bond, right? It's like almost blood. It's like my kids. I love them. They are part of me. They are my genes, right? So you can see one can create this very strong sense of group membership when you have a higher value. Maybe it's, again, the flag, you're serving your country, something extremely important for you. And that will go beyond tribalism, socio-economic status. So I think we should use that when you want to group together. Let me give you more example, then I'm done talking. You talk. Do you like soccer? Come on, it's big in Mexico. I love soccer because I'm French. I never understood American football. It's horrible. It's boring. I love soccer. And you know that one of the best soccer team, female, I'm talking about female now, female soccer team is US. Very good. The best. They won the World Cup. Remember? A few weeks ago. They play against the French, lost. The French are good. Who they were fighting with was US against the final.
The Germans?
No. German are very good.
Germany?
The Dutch.
England.
No, Dutch. Yeah, the Dutch. Netherlands. Yeah, we say Netherlands for the Dutch. Yeah, okay. So, but I want to go back because that's my hometown, Lyon. Lyon is, for the French women football club in Lyon, it's one of the best clubs in the world. Okay? So I just took a screenshot of the people who are member of the female soccer team in Lyon. Lyon is a city, in France. It's a mid-sized level city, and the soccer team, female, very good. The best one for male, I think it's Paris Saint-Germain, Paris, but the soccer, the female, it's in Lyon. But look, this is a French soccer team, and they are French people, a lot of French girls, but there are 3 from Brazil. Look at this. 1 from China, Costa Rica, 2 from Denmark, Germans, Japanese, New Zealand, Africa, 5 from Norway, 1 from Russia, 3 from Swiss, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from the US, 1 from Welsh. Why do I like that? Because my 2 favorite soccer players from the US, Megan Rapinoe, you remember? She's the captain, the co-captain, and Megan, help me. Oh, you're not the big fan. Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe, they played in the French team, except when it was the World Cup, they are in the American Cup. So what I want to show you is that those 2 girls, women, great, smart, beautiful, extremely skills. They play the American team, they did, but before they were in the French team. So you can bring people together. It doesn't matter anymore where you're from. There are black people in that team, white people, gay, straight, American, French. It doesn't matter anymore in this kind of social configuration because the goal is higher. It's being the best soccer team in Europe. 1 more or 2 more, is it okay? It's very simple, but it's important, right? I like very much, I don't know you do, because it's very famous in Mexico too. There's Grand Prix in Mexico. I very much like Formula 1, and I take Renault because I'm French, I'm biased. I like the French team, for sure. But again, Renault, you know, has been racing. Renault is a big French company, car company. Well, not the best car in the world, right? Germans have better cars, but Renault is a big car company. And it's a French car company. But look, that's the F1, Formula One race team. I want to show you two things. The engine is made in France by Renault. The chassis is made in the UK. Cooperation, isn't it? The tire, I don't know, I think it's Michelin, it's probably French. The test driver, the race driver, this year it changes every year. They take the best one. You see? In that case, it's who is the best. How much money do we have to buy the best driver? They are like mercenaries. We don't care where they're from. They don't have to be French. They're not even French. This year, the best driver, I mean, the two drivers that work for Renault are Daniel Ricciardo, he's from Australia, and Nicolas Hülkenberg from Germany. And you should have the test driver. No, the test. Oh my God, the test drivers. It should be here. Are from Russia and Denmark. Those are testing the car. It's not even a French guy. The French are making the engine. Again, this is like a multi-million-dollar business. They just care about who is the best. They all speak English because they have to work together. They don't care where you're from. I don't even know who's like Christian or atheist. They want the best driver, the best car, the best engine. Again, you can create something that seems to be French. Renault is French, and yet have people from anywhere in the world work for them. For what? Competition. Competition, collaboration. I take one more example, because we have shared history between Mexico and France. That I love that example. It's the French Foreign Legion. The French Foreign Legion is a military unit, elite unit in the French army, very old, started in 1832, right? All the officers are French. They have to have a French passport. You can become French and be an officer. That's not a problem, okay? And only 24% of the soldiers are French. Most of the people I listed by year are from different countries. So when it started in 1932, most of the French Foreign Legionnaires were not French. They were from Switzerland, Germany, Spain, Belgium, and Dutch, whatever. In 1954, most of them were in fact German. They love fighting, don't they? Austrian, Belgium, Swiss again, Polish. Today, most of them are German, Swiss again, Belgium, Russian, some Hindus, 140 nationalities. And there is something very special about that. This elite unit training focuses on traditional military skills with a very strong, what we call, there is no translation. We use that even in the US Marines. My son, when he graduated from the US Marines 2 years ago, they told us about esprit de corps. I can say that, right? Without a good accent now. Esprit de corps. But you know what it means? I'm sure it's the same because we use that in English. Esprit de corps. We are all members of the same body. But look where they're coming from. They all speak, I mean, they all probably learn French and English to work, especially today. But they're all coming from different walks of life, countries, origin, race, religion, and yet they are all in the same body, esprit de corps. That makes the French Foreign Legion so strong. Isn't it cool? And such a good example for me today to show that, yeah, we have group biases and we make all these categories, but we can create whatever categories we want. We are not, marionettes. And it's because of evolution. We should be nice only to white people because I'm white. That's not true. It's very flexible. It's very simple. We can create all these groups. We can use our group biases, but to go beyond these biases to create whatever categories we want, right? Like in the academic world, we love colleagues, right? That's what we like about academia. I'm a Frenchman. I became American. I'm in Mexico. I meet people from Japan. We are the same because when I see my colleagues like you, I don't see you as Mexican, or I don't know where you're from, or from, Jordan or Turkey. I see you as colleagues. and we have the same values. We like talking, we like we like to use our reasoning, we want to change the world. We have all these values in common. You agree? We belong to the same group. So it goes beyond this, whose passport, what passport do you have, right? So I think this shows that our biases, we have biases and they are useful to survive, but the categories that we do create with our biases are highly flexible, and if we know that, we can use that to make the world a better place. I spoke too much. I think we should discuss that, and you should argue with me. Thank you. Do not applaud, please. This is a seminar. No need to say thank you, please. Better for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank to them.
Thank you very much for the translator as well. We're a little bit over time, so but I think maybe people want to make some questions. So I don't know if the translation can give us some more minutes just to make
okay?
a couple of questions. Is that okay with you? I'm sorry, we always do this. So, perdón, me voy a cambiar a español. Entonces, a ver, vamos a hacer una ronda rápida de preguntas y de comentarios si quieren y para poder cerrar. A ver, manos.
¿Todas juntas?
¿Perdón?
¿Todas juntas?
¿Cómo?
¿Todas las preguntas juntas o una por una?
What do you prefer? Should we put all the questions together?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Let's
is it
take
better
notes.
in terms of, yeah, okay. So, entonces,
And
si
if
quieren
you can
vamos.
make short question would be nice.
Ajá,
Short.
traten de ser como muy concretos con la pregunta.
And again,
por favor.
I don't know if I'm...
Ok, estamos aquí.
Hola, quisiera preguntar si existe algún estudio que mida la extensión del grupo con respecto al nivel de cohesión. Porque, por ejemplo, en el sentido de los grupos militares, son usualmente pequeños y son muy unidos. Y el equipo de fútbol a veces son muchos, pero no todos tienen ese nivel de cohesión. A lo mejor hay microtribus, microgrupos. Simplemente eso. Gracias.
¿Qué más?
Hola, estuve revisando su libro La neurociencia social de la empatía y noté que usted, mencionan que hay unas 8 categorías para las definiciones de empatía y de estas 8 hay una división entre aquellas en las que nos podemos imaginar cómo se siente el otro o podemos saber qué es lo que el otro siente. Y esto corresponde a un sentimiento altruista cuando somos empáticos con ellos. Y también hay otro tipo de definiciones en donde el sufrimiento ajeno nos resulta doloroso y desde esta perspectiva estaríamos siendo egoístas. Entonces me gustaría preguntar cuál es la perspectiva que usted toma ante este tipo de definiciones y por qué. Y como una pregunta aparte, aunque he revisado los libros de Luke sobre potenciales relacionados con eventos, me gustaría que nos recomendara algo de literatura sobre ERPs relacionados con sesgos y empatía.
Allá atrás, Enrique creo que quería decir algo.
Okay, John. Is it true that Rwanda genocide was the result of a construction from the part of intelligence services from Belgium that had created a group of Hutus and Tutsis? I read it in some paper that it has been the result of a construction from the part of the intelligence services from Belgium that have created the categories of Hutus and Tutsis in the Rwanda genocide. Do you have some information about it?
I'm not sure. So categories, I got the categories part. Can you remind me the two?
Hutus and Tutsis.
From the Rwanda
Yeah.
genocide.
Yeah.
So
But
how
it was a social construction.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, from the part of artificial
right.
service. Yeah.
That's it?
No, había otra por acá,
Yeah, yeah.
¿no? Sí. ¿De una vez?
One more?
Coral y luego por acá.
Me da pena preguntar esto porque es como de las primeras cosas que dijo, pero no me ha quedado claro del todo, porque yo manejo esta palabra de otra forma. When you say biases are heuristics. What does that mean? Porque, I mean, heuristics is like a discover, like knowledge through discovery. Según yo, that's what I've always, know about that word. Mhm. Bueno.
Allá atrás, una más.
Mire, buenas, gracias. En relación a la Legión Extranjera Francesa, no aceptan a cualquiera, tienen que tener ciertas características para pertenecer a ese grupo que es de élite. Entonces, eso ya implica un sesgo, ¿no? Porque están discriminando a los demás. Todos se ven como hermanos, pero solo ellos, en su pequeño grupo, los demás no son lo suficientemente valiosos para pertenecer a su hermandad. Otro sesgo. Entonces, yo sigo en lo mismo, encuentro un montón de contradicciones en qué es sesgo y depende del punto de vista. Tal vez para ellos no es un sesgo el que ellos se vean como hermanos, su grupo se quieren, se cuidan, pero no aceptan a nadie más. Entonces, el que no acepta dice pues es que es por un sesgo, ¿no? Gracias.
Por acá, ¿no más?
¿Así? Sí. Gracias. If biases are in a way related to this social categorization, social categorization in a way is based on this bias condition or biasing condition. When we have this recognition from the other in a fraction of a second, we are basically conceptualization at the same time. So that means that we can conceptualize in a very high order system our perception of the other, right? So that means that bias, in a way, has a high order cognition quality.
Una más por acá. Ahí, ¿no tienes ahí ese micrófono no funciona?
Ese sí funciona, creo.
Okay, one last one. That's the last one. She's a Kahneman follower, so.
Help me.
Bueno, mi pregunta va más dirigida a… Cuando categorizamos, esto también se puede deber al efecto del heurístico de representatividad y disponibilidad, o esto se dan por la misma categorización que nosotros hacemos. Esa es una pregunta. Y la otra es, ¿qué tanto tienen que ver los heurísticos y cuáles son en la conducta prosocial? Porque ahorita hablamos, y la clase pasada, más bien la conferencia pasada, hablamos mucho de empatía, ¿no? Y que, yo también lo puedo analizar que a veces no somos tan empáticos a ciertos fenómenos de violencia, porque también se da este fenómeno de la habituación, ¿no? Y estamos tan acostumbrados que eso pase, que pues simplemente lo ignoramos. ¿Qué tanto esto es cierto y desde un aspecto neurológico, cómo se verá influenciado esta toma de decisiones en estos aspectos de conducta prosocial y en cuanto a la violencia?
No, well, I'm here until tomorrow, so I can stay. I think the two women who are translating are maybe already tired, aren't you? Okay, so let's see. And again, I'm just telling you what I think. You don't have to agree with me, right? This is not religion when someone tells you have to believe that because it's in the book. Who was the person who talked about small groups? The size of groups? Yeah. So, this is absolutely the case. It's easier to create new groups like Band of Brothers in the Marines, or, if you go in the Special Forces. So we know that. And you see, it's based on evolutionary theory. And we didn't know that a long time ago. So now, many countries, such as Mexico, I'm sure, because of the cartels, the US, the French, the British, whatever, the Israeli, we have these special forces, right? And more, I'm interested in that because I like army stuff because my family and my son. And it is a fact that everywhere when you go to special forces, they use that. So they make sure that you always work in small groups, because you want to know everybody. You want to create this special bond that I know you, and you can be different from me, I don't care. He's like this, I know he likes smoking, I'm not saying, he likes this kind of stuff, he likes this food, is funny. Me, the other one, is a boring guy, but he's good in shooting, and he likes girls, whatever. You need to know each other because then you're going to start to care for each other. As I said this morning, it's difficult to care for big groups, big numbers. Small, yeah, like small. In the special forces, they work in groups of 10. In the Marines, it's called a platoon. 10 soldiers, a platoon. What is it called in French? Whatever, but it's almost the same name. I think it's French, by the way, platoon, whatever. So it's small groups. Right? Because you're absolutely right. The same for soccer. It's a small group. Even though we have all these women in Lyon, it's across many years. But when you play soccer, there is a number of players and people can replace, right? But it's a very small number, and that's the key. And again, because I really like soccer, I don't play soccer. I've learned something like, the French. The French. They have one of the best school for soccer. People know it. So if you want to be a soccer player, professional, it's good for you to move to France, to go to a school, one of the few schools. They create the best soccer player in the world. Then they leave. They go to the UK, they go to Ukraine, to Germany. They go where there is money or more money, or they don't want to pay taxes, because they are selfish. People are selfish too. But the French training is really good. And so where I'm going is that the French team is really usually good, but they won twice the World Cup, right? Last time they won it, and many years ago when I was still in France, when we had Zinedine Zidane, great player. Oh look, Zidane, Algerian, Muslim, who cares? Black people in the French team, who cares? We all love them. We don't see Zidane as Muslim. We see Zidane as beautiful guy, great player. He's great. He's a Frenchman. You see? The categories changes, but you're absolutely right. To finish, small groups like soccer, platoons, work much better in small numbers, and that would be predicted by evolutionary theory. It's harder when it's a very huge group. Okay. Someone asked about empathy and the distinction between it's a man between feeling distress or altruism. So empathy can lead to two. Empathy, you're right, can lead to two outcomes, right? One is like you feel bad because you see someone suffering. It makes you feel bad, and you may help. But the ultimate goal is to remove your own distress. Or empathy can lead to altruism, which is really I care for the other, not for me. It's not about me. So there are differences, and I think there is a lot of work to show that how the differences are in the brain, that, it's not the same mechanisms if you feel altruism or distress. They are very different. And then you are the person, right, to work on physician and ethics, right? We discussed this one. Yeah, and that's going to be very important for the project I was telling you in Australia. We think that when we will scan the people, the medical doctors, we expect to find differences in their brain. Those who are willing to end the life of their patient because they feel distress, or those who will choose to end the life of their patient because of altruism. I believe we will find different regions, and we can predict from the activity in regions which one will do one. So there is a lot of literature. It's not new. There is a lot of research in support of that. But I'm kind of curious to go back to you. as well as the last person who asked a question, because none of the discussion that I had to me today, not today, this afternoon, has anything to do with empathy. I never use the word empathy in the afternoon. I was trying to make the case that we have cognitive biases that are heuristic, and I will go back to that. That's one of the questions. So again, cognitive biases or heuristic, that two names, the same thing, means that they are shortcuts that when we are facing information, complex information, that make us make quick decision. That can be wrong, yes, but they help us to make quick decisions. Those are called cognitive biases. Everything I've been talking so far today, this afternoon, has nothing to do with empathy. So I'm surprised that I know that's what you think, I'm the expert on empathy, but this afternoon, I never used the word empathy. It has nothing to do with empathy. It's all about information processing. So let me give you one more example to make it simple. Why cognitive biases are important to process social information, right? And it makes quick decision. They might be unfair or wrong, but they work. Okay, I'll give you one. Suppose, imagine that you are, I'm going to take a young woman, important what I'm going to say, walking in the street of Chicago at night, where I live, in the south of Chicago. No, where I live, it's very safe because I live on campus. Very safe. Nothing's going to happen to you. But if you walk like 3 or 4 blocks south of where I am, I don't think you want, as a young woman, to walk at night alone. Nowhere in the world, by the way, right? How come? Huh? How come that, no, if you're a mother, you will teach your daughters when they go to a nightclub to never go to a nightclub alone? And I don't have to do that for my son. How come? Am I stupid? Am I biased? That's a cognitive bias. I don't need to go to school to know that as a father, I never had to tell my sons, I have 2, one is a Marine, the other one is in college, say, when you go to a nightclub, go with a group. Nothing's going to happen to my son. But if I had a daughter, you want to teach them. When you go to a nightclub, always go as a group because something can happen. And you need to be together to be safe. There is safety issue. So suppose, that's true everywhere in the world, unfortunately. So suppose you are a young woman and you're walking at night in the street of Chicago, in the south, and then you are on the sidewalk, and in front of you there are a group of 3 black teenagers walking towards you. What are you going to do? Well, most people don't need to go to school. They have this cognitive bias that they're going to switch sidewalk. That may be wrong. Who cares? Biases? Sure. Safety? Absolutely. And nobody's telling you that every time you see 3 black teenagers in Chicago at night, they are bad people. No. I'm pretty sure most of them are good people like you and me. But that's a bias. It's cognitive. You pick up information. You are alone, a young, pretty woman, going back home after a nightclub. You walk on the street, you're going to switch side. Because that's a safety issue, and you don't need to learn that. That is a bias. You categorize the world. You see black people at night. This is racism? I don't think so. You didn't say anything. You switch. So I'm trying to tell you that cognitive biases have evolved to serve a function. Yeah, people from your own group, from your family, not always, but from your family, from your village, people from your community, people from your platoon, people from your sorority, whatever the group you want, you're going to have an in-group bias. You're more likely to be in safety with people from your group. Us, we are academics, aren't we? We are a group. You're going to be nice to me, I'm going to be nice to you. You don't have to be scared of me. You know who I am. I know who you are, what you do. I may be wrong. Maybe some of you are bad people. Yeah, but statistic picking, I make these categories, people from my in-group, and you are people of my in-group today. It's contextualized, depending on the context. I feel safe. I'm trying to say that these cognitive bias help us to make quick decisions that can be important for survival, or that were important in the past. Maybe not today. Oh yes, I take for granted that today, that's different. We live in big groups, very complex, very different, right? But that's what I'm saying. It's information processing shortcuts. And we have all these biases. These biases can be stupid. I'm not going to ask you if you go to Las Vegas, or do you have casinos in Mexico? I'm sure you do. Well, so, casinos, they play with that. They pretend to, they play, people say, you roll the dice, and if the dice was red 5 times, it's more likely to be black the 6th time. That's totally false. That's a bias. And people use that in casino to make you play. And casinos have been created by people to take money from others. You're much likely to lose money in Las Vegas to win. Very few people win money. But only the professional poker players, they win money. But most people, then they go to Vegas, they lose money. That's why Vegas makes so much money. That's why people have casinos. Right? It's not a win-win. You lose money. Right? So you can play with biases to make people play money. Right? So some biases are totally stupid. But the way they were designed, they played a role in the past. If something happen, maybe you think it's going to be more likely to happen. And sometimes we are wrong. As I said, some cognitive biases, the 2 I chose today to show you, like the information bias that we have, that people, don't realize that the most dangerous way of transportation in the world is driving your car. You know it. Look at statistics. Driving your car in Mexico or in Chicago or in Paris, you're more likely to die from a car accident than to fly on a plane. And yet, when there is a plane crash that happens once a year, everybody is like talking about that on TV. For weeks, a plane has crashed in Ethiopia. Why? Because that's, they are not used to that. But if you want me to report on TV that today there are 20 people killed in Mexico on car accident, nobody cares. That's a bias. That's a bias. Because we all drive cars, we don't fly planes. So we know and we think we know, and therefore we don't care anymore. And when we don't know something is new, that information becomes salient, right? If you put a bomb in Paris, like what they did, 60 people were killed in the Bataclan. Horrible. Horrible. Of course it's horrible. It was all over the news. Facebook, I'm with Paris. Everybody put a French flag on their Facebook. I'm not saying I'm making fun of that. No, because it was in Paris. Do we put an Iraqi flag on our Facebook when every day for 6 or 10 years there are people bombing mosques in and killing civilians? Same people, by the way, Islamists, killing other Islamists all the time in Iraq or Syria. No, the difference between the two, it doesn't happen in Paris very often. So we have this bias, say, we look for the information that is salient. But if it happens all the time in Iraq, it's part of the noise, statistical noise. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that these biases, they play a role, right? It's unlikely that if you go to Paris, you're going to be attacked by Islamist terrorists. So if it happens, that is extremely important for you. And who's going to go to Iraq on vacation? Nobody. Nobody wants to go there anyway, do they? So back to some of the, sorry, I was too long, but back to the question that bias are, yes, ma'am, sorry, heuristics. What does it mean? It means that it takes information. How many people die every day in Paris, on a plane, and you process this information very quickly. You see people walking on the street at night. This is very specific context. You are a young girl, you're on the way, you see black people, you process this information, 3 young male, black, you process that and make a quick decision. You don't even think. It's automatic. And you switch sidewalk. I would do it if I were a female. Don't tell me I'm a racist. I'm not racist. It's a quick thing. I didn't say anything against the black. I switched side. I want to be safe. There's nothing wrong about that. I think that's a heuristic. It's very quick to make decisions. And of course, it can be wrong. Absolutely. But those are decisions that help us to survive. That's what I was trying to say, heuristics. Categories. Yeah. Someone asked about something very interesting. Again, Hutu and Tutsi. Yeah, some are social construction. So I don't know all the details, but I will know for sure soon. I think we're going to be in touch by email about your project and mine. But in January, I'm going to Rwanda, by the way, and Uganda to work there. I was asked to go there, and I'm very excited. I'm going to go. I've never been to. I lived in South Africa, but not in Rwanda. So I'm going to go to Rwanda and Uganda because I want to do studies in both countries. And you're right that it seems that the tragedy between the Hutu and Tutsis, those people are very similar. Same black, same size. You know, like it's not like there are some short and tall, like the Pygmies and the Zulus. I don't know if they speak the same language, but I don't know that. And yet, because of social construction, due to the colonial power, the Belgium, they gave most of the power to the Hutus, who had all the good jobs, and the Tutsi, the lower jobs, that there was a lot of resentment. So that partly explains what happened when the Civil War broke out. So social construction, of course, it's part of it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. More? Sorry?
No, sorry. I think we have to stop now. Creo que tenemos que parar porque también la traducción ya se nos pasó un poquito el tiempo. Entonces ya no vamos a poder continuar, pero muy probablemente vamos a seguir teniendo la oportunidad de tener al profesor Decety. La próxima vez espero que venga un poco más de tiempo, maybe a week or so you can take next time to come to Mexico. Not only one day. Entonces, yeah, we'll have him here. I think a lot of people have interest and continue working with you, so I think we can do that. Así que nada más les quiero agradecer a todos y a todas por estar aquí. Creo que vamos a continuar esta conversación a través de muchos medios y espero que también podamos empezar, digamos, como a generar sinergias diversas, ¿no? Con los proyectos que se están llevando a cabo en la universidad. Así que pues les agradezco mucho el haber participado con nosotros durante estas 3 conferencias, a los que estuvieron en el coloquio el año pasado. También les agradezco mucho que estén dándole continuidad y como les comenté en la conferencia de la mañana, vamos a estar anunciando qué es lo que vamos a estar haciendo con ese laboratorio el próximo año y pues bueno, serán muy bienvenidos a acercarse, a comentar, a intercambiar también. Así que pues muchas gracias, Professor Decety, thank you so much for making this long trip just for one day. We'll make it better next time. Sí, muchas gracias para las traductoras que como siempre han hecho un excelente trabajo. Así que muchas gracias a las dos y también por el apoyo allá afuera. Así que gracias a todos y a todas.
Un aviso final, la gente que requiera la constancia, conmigo por favor, y a la gente que tramitó la constancia, si no la...